Welcome to TPM Case Files. Most real estate channels will teach you how to buy properties, but very few tells you what happens afterwards. What happens when a tenant stops paying rent? What happens when your title deed get delayed? What happens when a maintenance issue turns into a headache? Hi, I'm Mira. My team and I have been helping landlords in Abu Dhabi and Dubai with their properties for over a decade. In this series, we'll be sharing cases with our real experience. So let's open today's file. File 001, the day the rent freeze notice hits Abu Dhabi. It was a normal Tuesday morning, or at least that's what Lei thought, until an email landed in her inbox. Then landlords start calling her, tenants start calling her, agents start calling her, and it turns out to be one of her busiest days. So what happened? Today we are having our property manager, Lei, to share her day. Hi Lei, how are you? Welcome to TPM's file case 001. You are the first you are the first guest. So we heard about that was a busy day for you, right? What happened? What was the thing that landed in your inbox?
So we basically got a circular statement from the ADREC released June 2nd, Tuesday, but it was enforced on June 1st.
What did it say inside?
It says they're freezing all the increases of the rent in renewal and also if you got a new tenant for your property. So let's say, for example, if the renewal for the last period and the tenant has 80,000 rent, if the tenant wants to renew for another period, then it should stay 80,000. So it should not increase even 1 dirham. Even you will apply for the tawti, it will not reflect. So there will be a note says that you are inputting an exceed amount to this current rental amount. Technically, you can't do anything about it.
So for those who are still wondering what happens, essentially, ADREC, Abu Dhabi Real Estate Center, sent a circular on June 2nd stating that immediately effective that from now on till their further announcement that there will be no more rental increase allowed in Abu Dhabi area because previously Abu Dhabi you can legally raise 5% rent upon renewal as long as both parties agree, but now you cannot increase any of your rent. And how about if your tenant moves out of the property, you are trying to find a new tenant, can you then adjust your rent to the market price?
Yeah, you cannot as well because ADREC has imposed for the two specifically. One is for the renewal and then the other one is for the new tenancy contract. So even if you will get your tenant vacated the property, you send them a notice and then you got another tenant to occupy the property, then the rent must be the same as the last period. So you cannot increase as well. So it's like entirely freezes the rent for renewal and for the new.
So basically what it means is even if your tenant moves out of the property, either through your eviction or voluntarily due to whatever circumstances, when you are trying to look for a new tenant, the maximum rental that you can charge is what the previous tenant has paid you. So if your previous tenant paid you 80,000, even though in the market it's now renting out at 100,000, you can only charge 80,000 for your new tenant.
Yeah, you have to stick to the previous rent amount of the unit.
Right. But then does this rule apply to the entire area of Abu Dhabi or only specific areas of Abu Dhabi? Because we know Abu Dhabi has two jurisdiction system, right? One is the ADM, Abu Dhabi Municipality. The other is the free zone, which is ADGM. So does it include both or only certain parts of Abu Dhabi?
So for now, we got an answer from ADGM. It is not yet imposed to them. So they're not yet included, which is the free zone. But it is, if it is under ADM, they have to comply with this circular statement. That means all the buildings, commercial, residential, villas, under ADM.
So the only two areas that so far are exempt are under the ADGM's territory, like Al Reem Island and Al Maria Island. These are the only two areas that don't need to follow this rent freeze. But the rest of Abu Dhabi, whether you're on Corniche or at Raha Beach, Al Reem, everywhere, you have to follow ADM's new rule on this temporary rent freeze. You cannot increase your rent to your current tenant or even on your new tenant.
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So when our landlords got this notice, what was their reaction?
When that circular statement landed to us from the ADREC, I know for a fact that I'm getting messages and emails from the landlords. We actually send an email and messages to them about this circular statement. Too many landlords contacted us that day. Of course, most of them are frustrated. But at the end of the day, most of the landlords saying that, okay, we cannot do anything but to follow the rules. But the most question that we're getting is that until when is this circular imposed? When we called the ADREC said that we cannot give you any details. It's confidential.
Temporary measurement. So
yes.
But whilst you explain to them, they all accept it and understand, the government is doing something for the general public's benefit and interest, and it's best to follow it. Okay. And then you have to go and renew or amend a lot of the renewals that you have completed, right? Or a lot of new leases that you managed to rent out. So you were on the admin maniac, like revising contract.
That was one of the hardest part of this circular statement. Normally, what we do in our company is that 4 months before we are notifying the owner of the renewal for tenancy contract. So technically, the tenancy contract that will expire this June, July, August, and September, they're already notified for renewal and the rent amount. Normally, when it is renewal, we increase 5% because that's the allowable increase with the government. So there's a lot of things
to redo all the renewals again, starting with explaining to the landlords about what happened, what does the government say, so what is the new rule is about, and why do we need to start renegotiating with our tenants on the renewal. But how do tenants feel about it? Are they all quite receptive of it?
They're happy. They're really happy. This is a hot take. It is really good for the tenant side.
Like for example, Lei had a villa. It's a big villa, and then the previous tenant has been living there for over 13 years, I think, for a very long time. So the landlord has been renting out under market value for a long time because they were not allowed to raise more than 5% every year. So even though the market was much higher, they could only charge 5% increase. And this year, finally, the tenant decided to move out. So the landlord was like, okay, let's rent out at the market rate. We got an offer for 200,000, like 70,000 more dirham. And then the tenancy was about to start on 30th of June. And everything was already finalized, tenancy contract signed, rental check received. But this notice came, so I think Lei have to go back to square one, which is to inform the tenant the good news. By the way, you're getting a rental discount. We're not going to charge you 200,000 anymore. I'm sure the tenant was very happy.
Yeah, actually there is always two sides. One is that I am really sad informing the owners. But the other one is that I am also really quite happy in informing the tenants because you will see them that they're really happy about this one.
I think to our surprise, it seems like the leasing market has become more and more active these days after the announcement from the government on this rent freeze, right? Even our leasing colleague told us that she got a lot more phone calls from agents and then prospective tenants and on viewing. It seems like tenants are more active in terms of looking for new properties, finding new places to rent. And also, I think probably the other reason why Abu Dhabi government implemented such a rule maybe is to control the inflation, because as we can see, the oil prices have gone up a lot, and not only in UAE but the whole entire world since this war started. So if the government can control the rent, then I think it's a big relief to the residents in Abu Dhabi to continue to stay here and continue to live here and continue to call this place home. I think overall, although it was really quite shocking, I think things are going at the right direction. And then if you look at who is most impacted, I would say most of the landlords are Emiratis, because a huge part of Abu Dhabi can only be owned and bought by Emiratis, like only, the mainland city area. And the government is willing to implement something that they know is unpopular with their own citizens, but the government feels it's needed in order to make this place probably a easier place, more comfortable place for all the residents to stay in. I could imagine it must be a difficult decision for the government to make, but then they realize that it's probably required at this moment in time. Okay, so Lei, are you still dealing with the aftershock even after a week of the announcement? Or things started to quiet down now?
It started to quiet down. The upcoming renewals, which are on September, October, and November, and going forward. So those are not hard to deal with. Not like the recent renewals, but I think still I have to properly explain it to the landlords, especially who has a lot of units that we're managing.
Okay, thank you, Lei. So if you want someone who understands the market and is really proactive at, helping our landlords navigating all these challenges, difficulty, you can find how to contact us and the information below. And that is our case 001 today. And I will see you next time. Bye.